It's the final days of 2024, so what are we going to do?
We're going to take a look back on how the year went for us.
So we feel it's always important to look back at where we've been because it helps us to know where we're going. Thank you for joining us at About 6 Acres. I'm Juana.
And I'm Nick.
And today we're just going to see what happened at About 6 Acres in 2024.
And don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button for more videos like this and to look at the past year.
We obviously could do a show and tell, and we do frequently show you areas around the property, but we just felt like it'd be more fun to get our honest opinion on how things went. So let's start a game. Which project are you most proud of?
This is where you're going to see my awesome spelling skills and writing skills.
I'm scared. Don't judge him. We went to the same high school.
Which project are you most proud of? Let's see.
Okay.
Ready.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, let's show. What did you write?
Chicken coop build.
Yes. So I completely agree. And I think it goes beyond just the benefits that we're seeing now. It really has to do with just how many skills we acquired.
Yeah, it was a big project. Neither of us really had like true construction skills. I mean, we built little things before, but this was a big one.
Yeah, this one we had to learn basically how to read plans. We had to learn how to use certain tools that we hadn't really used before.
Yes.
Yeah. We also had to manage our time around the weather, which the weather in the spring or around that time, it was just brutal. So it took a lot out of us. But I think the feeling of accomplishment of I know how to read plans now. I know how to do roofing. Yeah. That was pretty exciting.
I was very good at that.
Yes, I'm very good at roofing. Nick does not like heights. Nope. Neither do I, but I have less fear than he does. But I think it was just the whole idea of it was such a big project that we had to chop it up into so many little pieces that at each stage I just felt so accomplished. Like it felt like we were going up a hill, up a mountain. And then at each point, we were just feeling so much more comfortable, and so much so that I really want to build a tiny house. But I don't know that Nick's going to go along with that.
Yeah. And for me, I shared with Juana that this project gave me a lot of anxiety, not because of not wanting to do it or how big it was. It was more of there was a lot of investment in it, like financially. So I wanted to try to learn as much as I could before cutting or doing any of that and making sure I understood the whole process. And so that gave me a little anxiety, but I think, you gotta be able to step out of your comfort zone a little bit. So I'm still alive. I'm here.
He's still alive.
And I learned.
Yeah.
So.
But I think overall we're just so happy with how it turned out. It's been one of those investments that obviously has become very, very useful, especially the covered run with all the rains that we've been having lately. Number 2.
Which project do you wish you had put off? So now I have to remember all the projects.
All right, let me know when you're ready.
I can't think of one.
So maybe that's your answer.
None?
All right, what did you write?
I put none. Because there are obviously projects that we did not do, that we did not get completed. So, and we did a lot of projects that were manageable. Number 3, which project was so easy you can't believe you waited to get it done? This is probably easy. There's another one too, but this one's probably easy.
Okay.
Ready?
Okay, hold on a second. Hold on a second. I can't believe it. I can't do it. All right, you ready?
Yes.
1, 2, 3. What'd you put?
Window trim.
So I put installing the hose, basically the pole. And I think the biggest reason is the hose link sat on the ground longer than it should have. We got it for Black Friday last year, and we didn't get it on a pole and installed so that we could use all the features that it had, like being able to pull it out. And basically we couldn't use the features until we dug a hole, put the post in, and installed it. And it was such an easy project. It took all of a day.
Yeah, not even. I would say maybe a little more than an hour, just because digging the hole was the hardest thing.
But even digging the hole was pretty simple. And so it was one of those very, very funny projects that, again, I wish we had done it sooner, because we would have been so much better off during garden season. So much better off during I can't say those words.
Growing stuff season.
Yes, we would have been much better off. So that's what I had. And I think our biggest fear was that area has a lot of clay. And for some odd reason, even though we were just digging one post, and even though we were just digging 3 feet, it felt like we were going to be digging 6 feet of our own grave.
Because I was worried that would be a little compacted, but
It worked
that's
out.
bad. One is a good hole digger.
So yours was window trim?
Yeah, I put window trim because after we got the first couple done, we sort of knew what the routine was on how we need to cut things. And once it was, the hardest part was getting all the materials, because again, that was the expensive part, right? Getting all the trim and everything, and doing it. We could have gotten upstairs done all at once if we planned well.
Yeah.
But getting it installed, super easy.
So one thing that we did do last year is we did a practice run in our classroom, so the building that we keep our feet in. But I think that really did help, because it was such low pressure, and we were able to make mistakes there and try things that we might have wanted to try here. And I felt like that gave us the confidence to approach that this year. I think we would probably be still figuring out how to do the first one if we had decided to do it in the house, because you would be so afraid that you would mess it up, even though he can't. 2024 was actually our first kidding season. So the first season where we had goats and, they had babies. So on a scale from 1 to 10, how difficult was kidding season?
1 to 10. 10 being most difficult?
Yes, 10 being most difficult and 1 being easiest.
I think I got it.
So I had to change mine because afterwards we explained what the rating was. So I'm actually just going to rewrite mine.
So 1 being the easiest,
Yes.
10 being the hardest.
Yes. All right. So let me know if you're ready.
Ready.
You ready?
Yes. That's a 3.
That's a 4. So you thought it was fairly simple.
It was a lot simpler than I thought, because, again, a lot of the resources and stuff that we had, a lot of the online and like social media groups that we're part of, made it seem hard, like worst case scenario all the time. The probably most difficult thing was making sure we had stuff on hand, like the essential stuff on hand, making sure that the pet stores and stuff that we went to, the feed stores, had the things that we needed. That was the most difficult, but
Yeah. Having towels on,
yeah.
like having that kit really, really helped.
It wasn't really as hands-on. We watched, we got to help deliver some of the babies, but we didn't have to do any surgeries, C-sections, anything like that. It was actually a lot easier than a lot of the stories we've heard online, at least for me.
Yeah. One of the things that I've heard a few times said is most of the stories that you read online are like, I'm going to say a random number, but 95% of the births are normal, 5% of the births are tough, and 95% of the stories that you read online are about that 5%. Now, I'm not going to say that it's a 3. For me, it was a 4 because Brandy had a really, really difficult birth and very long. And through it, while he was Joe Cool, just so calm, I was freaking out, going, it can't be a 5-hour birth. Like, we need to get her to the doctor. And so I called the vet, and the vet was like, no, she's fine. Which, again, cemented the fact that he is so calm under pressure like that. You get anxiety before things, but during it, you are so calm. Meanwhile, I'm the opposite. Let's go do it. Let's, attack and then go, oh, I probably shouldn't have done that. So that worked out really, really well because you were calm, my mom was calm, and I think it also helped that my mom was in town, and she kind of just calmed me down, prayed with me quite a bit. But yeah, so I would say a 4, maybe even a 5 for me, because watching Brandy go through her pains was really difficult. And basically, Cash was just massive.
He was a big boy.
Yeah, he was the size of Lucy's babies that were 3 weeks old, or almost 4 weeks old. So he was a very big boy, and Nick had to assist somewhat without being too hands-on. So there's like that fine line, and I just didn't know that I was going to make it.
And I think we were spoiled with Lucy's delivery because her babies came out like fast. I mean,
and we knew, because Lucy, we were so in tune with that we knew Lucy was going to give birth, before 10 that day, and she kind of did. But then, Brandy's birth was so difficult. And the next day we woke up, walked outside, and Rosalina had 2 kids.
Yeah, so
next to her, we're like...
That's why I think I put a 3, because we only had to deal with 2 that we were actually involved in, and Rose is just like, nah, I don't need you guys.
So this is a little bit of a different question, because we got our day-old chickens back in 2023, so December of 2023. So they actually just turned a year with us. Most of them did.
We had gotten, how many chickens did we get?
We got, I believe it was 22 total chickens. One of them passed away that first day. But then we had so much drama, so much chicken drama. What was the most stressful part of the chicken care? And then I think we should temper that with what was the most rewarding part. And it can't be eggs, because everybody knows that eggs is rewarding.
Okay. So the most difficult part?
Yeah.
And I'm sure I can word this a different way. Okay. I think. I can't put eggs.
Okay. So, are you ready? Mm-hmm. All right, show it. Hopefully you guys can read this.
Yeah.
What'd you have?
And again, don't worry about the spelling. Okay? At a certain time, doesn't matter.
It does matter.
Doesn't matter.
It is important. All right, so this is funny because you have the same thing. So number 1, our rooster drama.
We had a crazy number of roosters, which is fine, because being newbies to chickens, again, we're just like, whatever we get, okay? We're gonna learn. But we ended up having quite a few roosters.
Yeah, so we had 8 roosters out of those 21, which is a lot. Usually for every 10 hens, you want 1 rooster, and we wound up with a lot. The biggest part about that is it puts a big strain on your hens. We had one of our hens, which we love, Karen. She just got jumped by 3 of them, nonstop. And it was 3 of them, and they would just jump on her, and one of them would start pecking at her. And at one point, one of them, which was really evil. Yeah. He was really evil.
I don't know if he knocked her over or slammed her into the wall.
He slammed her into the wall.
Something.
I'm convinced. Yeah. But she wound up with a neurological
some type of neurological disorder where
Yeah.
she would start limping and everything.
And then it kept progressively got worse.
And then we went to the vet, and he never saw anything like that before.
So it was bad, and then we lost her. So I think that was really tough because that was our first loss of a chicken that we named and really really liked, and she was so pretty. Karen, that was tough. So the rooster drama was probably the hardest part of the chicken care.
Yeah, so we rehomed a few, and some we had to, definitely cull from the flock. So to minimize any other stress, and then we actually had two roosters that would just fight each other, and so we're like, well, instead of them battling each other to the death, we decided let's cull them, and we actually made some chicken broth.
Bone broth
Out of the younger roosters, and found out that their bone broth is pretty good, especially when they're younger roosters. That there was a lot more, what I thought was, what is the word? Tastiness. There was more of
flavor.
The gelatin, collagen. That's the word, collagen. So there was more collagen in the bone broth. Which made it good, so we didn't waste it.
If there was something good with the whole rooster drama is it got out of the way one of the fears that we had, which was winding up with 8 roosters. And so I think as we look ahead, I'm not as freaked out about what happens if we get more chickens, which we will, and half of them are roosters. Like we know now, we know how to process them. We also know the signs, the warning signs, which I think was the biggest problem that we had, was not wanting to process them, like holding on so long, hoping to rehome so many of them, and it just was so much extra stress that we didn't need. All right, so the good part, what do you have?
I like watching the chickens because everyone has their own characteristics and their behaviors. To me, that's, beside the eggs, that's the most rewarding part because I don't know their names. I know a few of their names, but I know the characteristics or the behavior of the other ones, and it's funny. To me, it's funny.
I think that's funny that you still can't tell Aaron and Meredith apart. No, Meredith
I know because she has long fingernails.
Yes. So for me, it also is watching them, because it is fun to watch them and how they interact with each other. But also they're learning to trust us a lot and bond with us. And we have one chicken, the Welsummer Erin, who is just a gossip. And so she loves to just come over and tell me what everybody is doing and what everybody has done. And so it's fun to have the conversations with her because I think they're therapy for her, and it's just the most amusing thing to me.
We weren't sure Creed would.
I didn't think she was going to make it a month, yeah.
Because of her crossbeak issue, but she's super strong. She was the first mama, really, adopted mama, I guess you would call, that, went and hatched little Penny. So she's out there. She's, she's tiny, but she's hanging out with the big ones and just really cool.
She stands her ground.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, she will not take it from anybody. I will say the surprising thing is both Silkies are very, very strong, headstrong, and they don't take it from anybody. Like not even the roosters, when they had them, they would just go right back at them. And it was so weird because they're these tiny little puff balls.
And that brings us into our next topic, was the broody mama chicks. So we had Creed and Phyllis that were the main broody mamas.
If you're giving advice on broody mama, what do you think is the best advice? Because I can tell you that basically nothing worked for us. Hence why we wound up with babies.
And it was hot. So when they went broody, it was toward the middle of the summer?
Yeah.
So it was hot.
Yeah.
I think this helped.
So what do you have with what you think helped with broody mama?
I put cold water bath.
I put separating in the run, like in the kennel.
Yeah, so we bought an old dog crate kennel just so we can transport animals around and use as like a quarantine area.
I
So
guess, yeah.
yeah, so we put the dog kennel in the run,
Yeah.
food and water, and separated the broody mamas. That way they couldn't go back into the nesting boxes.
Yeah, I think separating them helped a bit. The problem was Creed. Creed would not break.
Yeah, Creed likes to hang out a lot around the run and around the coop. I don't know if it's just because she's smaller and she knows it, but I think she feels more comfortable around that. But I think the cold water baths help soaking them for a little bit because that's supposed to help lower their body temperature and kick them out of it. But I think it was just so hot during the summer that they were just like, especially the silkies, which tend to go broody more often. So, but I don't know. It's good different ideas, but let us know if you have anything that you guys used to break your broody mamas. The other thing we did was get that clutch of eggs that a bunch of them decided to lay outside and just put them underneath Phyllis and Creed. And
so we embraced their
let it
broodiness.
go.
Yeah. The next thing is we dealt with a lot of loss this year. And I think it was kind of a little bit of an adjustment for us because the first year we did not deal with any loss. And so, being our second year out here on the homestead, it was just a really tough part and the reality of homestead, like getting away from the romanticizing of it and this is real life. So
we've lost like meat chicks when we've gotten them, but I guess we weren't as invested.
But there is a difference
Emotionally.
between losing some, like a meat chicken or even one of the flock chickens the first day or two, and when you actually lose them, like after you're emotionally attached to them. So, what is your advice for dealing with loss?
Dun, dun, dun. Advice for dealing with loss.
Okay. So, are you ready?
Yes. I don't know if you can see it. Mine says, be prepared.
Okay.
So, be prepared to know that loss is part of homesteading, having animals, growing things. Things are going to die. They're going to get sick. But
That's a good one.
be prepared. So have the necessities on hand to deal with, when animals get sick. And, we had that. Had vet contacts, had a good mentor contact, especially with Brandy when the goats had issues. Be prepared, for loss. What are you going to do with the animal if it has to be removed from the homestead? Is there, be respectful and thankful for it, but learn as much as you can to help prevent it. So, check on your animals daily, especially with the goats, do our body checks, pet them, love on them. And that way you can see, is there anything that you can get on top of before it becomes bad. So.
And one thing is, like, with animals specifically, the more time you spend with them, the more you can read them. I really, really like that one because there's very easy ways to not be prepared and to be Pollyannish about it and think that everything is going to be okay. And if you are prepared, you've already thought in your mind, these are the actions that I'll take that will make that process easier. So I do like that. We dealt with a lot of loss this year. We mentioned Karen. We mentioned all of the roosters, a lot of them which we had to dispatch. Roosters that we had to say goodbye to that we thought were really good roosters, but we rehomed them. Our meat chickens, that is a type of loss too. They had a purpose, which I think was important. And then the the one that hit me the most was obviously Brandy. She kind of went downhill so fast, and she was just such a sweet goat. And it hit me really, really hard when she was sick. But then the moment that she passed away, it felt like, okay, we have to get beyond this. Like, we have to keep moving forward. So I put down pray and know that every animal has a purpose, because the prayer part was important to us. We pray over our animals, obviously, because we feel like when God blesses us, he blesses our household and our animals. And also, knowing that every animal has a purpose, and this was something that you already addressed. Sometimes that purpose is learning. Yeah.
And in the end, God is in control of it all. So, like Juana said, he's given us those animals, blessed us with it. And again, when we do pray, we pray for their safety, and we pray for the wisdom on how to take care of them. And, even days where it's been crazy rain, we're like, please protect and keep the animals dry,
Just safe.
Yeah. And, just so we can have, be good stewards of what we're blessed with.
Yep. Which project do you regret not doing this year? We did have a number of projects that we couldn't get to this year. There just wasn't the time. The weather conditions were not right. Financially, there were things that we had to put off until next year. But also just at some point, your creativity just needs a break. Yeah. And I don't know if it's maybe just us, but at some point you're just like, you know what? If I try to tackle this now, it's not going to come out as great as if I just let my brain rest and try to do it a different day. So what project do you regret not doing, knowing that we just couldn't get it done?
Okay.
You know what? I thought of a different one. All right, let me know when you're ready.
Done.
All right, you ready?
Yes. I don't know what it says.
So what did you have?
Oh, she says goat barn.
So what's really funny is you have frost-free hygiene and irrigation, and that's what I initially wrote. But then thinking about all of the rain that we've had the past week, maybe even month. Yeah, having a goat barn would be very, very healthy. Because it's that bad. So this was a project that we kind of had in the I wish we could get to it, but we know that it's going to take a little bit of an investment. And so the whole time we were kind of like, maybe we'll get to it in the summer, maybe we'll get to it in the fall, and then it's kind of like, I hope we get to it next year. But I think it's funny that we started with the same thing, because this is a huge one too.
Yeah, so we had bought some frost-free hydrants because we do, even though we're in East Texas, we do get some freezing, and we have a hose right by the goats that is where we normally get water from, but there's a line that runs. I don't even know where it starts. So that's the first project, is finding out where this line goes to and seeing if there's a shutoff valve to even shut it off, so it doesn't freeze. So that we know there's a PVC line, because the first year we were here, the first couple months,
project,
we noticed a leak and there was like a puddle. So I'm like, let me dig up that puddle, and then found there was a PVC line. So I know at least where that starts right there, and it goes to where the goats are. But we wanted to install frost-free hydrants there, so we'd have running water all year long. We don't have to truck hot water out of the house, and because that's just exhausting. So doing that, but doing irrigation off the same line up to the peach trees, because they had suffered. And the first year that we planted them, we had to hand water them, and that was a pain.
So for this next part, we're just going to talk a little bit about the skills that we've acquired and how we think we did in 2024 with them. Now, when we first moved out here into the homestead, we had really tried to focus on becoming more self-sufficient. So some of the skills that we've acquired, we've improved on this year. And I guess let's just talk a little bit about them. So gardening was a big one. We started our garden in 2023. We added to our garden in 2024.
And I think before we start like talking about that, one of the best advice that we've gotten is don't do anything to your land or property like right away until you experience like how your land works, basically. Like don't put I guess I'll use this example. Don't put the boys' goat pen downhill until you've been through a couple rainy seasons, because like we've learned, it's in a nice spot under a tree. So
it's perfect in the
gives
summer.
them nice shade, but when the water comes down, it makes a soupy mess. So there might be another place for it. Or don't put your, maybe like our orchard. Maybe we should put the irrigation in first before we planted a bunch of trees, because we wound up losing some trees because it was hard to water. And for our garden, we knew we wanted it close to the house so we can access it. So again, we just built or added more raised beds, had it close to an area where we can irrigate, use the hose. But the issue I guess that we're learning now is we still have to install, we bought some shade protection, but we have to install some type of shade system, because the late spring, summer is just, it's just like a sauna baking. And so that's something we learned.
Yeah. So I think with gardening, this year we had more success than last year when you look at certain things. When you look at other things, we had less success. And a lot of it were natural pressures. We did awesome this year with watermelons, with tomatoes, with peppers, with basil, because you might as well include basil there. Yeah. Cucumbers, we did really, really well. We had an awful season or an awful year for zucchini.
Yeah,
brutal.
Zucchini.
We didn't have zero. We had zero
squash.
We had issues with sweet potatoes and butternut squash, and 100% of the problem with those was the location that we had had a lot of success with the previous year. All of a sudden got overrun by moles. Sorry, by voles. Voles are the ones that eat. So there was really much that we could do once they were there. And so for next year, what we're talking about doing is having raised beds there that we could put hardware cloth underneath. And so at least that keeps the voles out, and we'll be able to use that space, which is a really, really good area. I mean, you get nice shade at the right time of the day.
And there's water access there, so when we do have to water,
it's easier. Yeah. So that's one of the big learnings from gardening this year.
We canned more stuff. Like, because, especially with the peppers and stuff, we did more, like relish, hot sauce. We'd even with tomatoes, we did more tomato sauce, tomato
Salsa.
paste, salsa.
We did something else tomato too.
Well, we froze some whole tomatoes.
Yeah.
Tomato soup.
Yeah, we froze some soup.
Made some tomato soup, so we, a lot more freezing and canning.
Yeah, we had really good roselle. We did a lot of that too. Okra, we preserved a lot frozen for soups and stews. But just overall, it felt like we had a lot more broth. Like this year, we've just kind of made it more of a priority to make things at home, to eat less processed foods, and to really use all the parts of everything that we have. Which is something that I don't know that we were doing as well the year before. It was just too much going on.
And a cool story about this, not to brag, and I think we mentioned it somewhere else, but we do our yearly physical with the doctor, and we remember last year going to the doctor, and the doctor's just like, he took my weight, and I was like I would say I was almost like 260 pounds. So I'm like 6'2", almost 260 pounds. And I knew I was not in shape. But the doctor's just like, yeah, according to the government and according to records that you're morbidly obese. But my cholesterol and everything was good. And so I'm like, okay, that's got to change. But that whole year, we're eating more stuff that we grew, not going out as much eating. Again,
And I think that was big too, the not going out to eat as frequently. That was big.
Yeah, because before where we used to live and where we used to work, that was, breakfast, lunch, you were basically going out to eat breakfast and lunch and getting things, fast food and stuff. So I think that's what caused a lot of the overweight issues. But what happened this year is when I went back to the doctor, and I knew I lost a lot of weight because I had to make 2 extra notches on my belt, which was cool. So we went back to the doctor, and when he weighed me, even the nurse was just like, you lost like over 50 pounds. And so this is like my, when I got married weight, which is pretty cool. And so I've kept that weight. And so the doctor was super impressed, and he's like, you've been taking weight loss meds? What have you been doing? Have you been exercising? I'm like, no and no. I'm like, the only exercise I get is, doing the work around the homestead. And I just told him, like, listen, I've been eating more of the stuff we grew in the garden, eating our own, chicken that we've grown, and eggs and everything. So he was blown away. So that was pretty cool. That definitely encouraged me to continue to grow more stuff, know that we're doing the right thing, even health-wise. So
I did not get to my wedding weight. I actually only lost 10 pounds, but I'm very happy with those 10 pounds that I lost because it was something. But for sure, I think the eating fresh, and we more eat in season because we just don't have the volume to be able to just preserve as much as some other people do. So
I think you feel fuller eating fresher things, because even if we're out in the garden working, you're going to be snacking on stuff that's out there. So more nutrient dense food.
Yeah. So as we're getting ready to start our seeds in a couple of days, it's just exciting that we're going to be getting to that point again, which is, it's a lot of fun. So that's, canning and preserving. We definitely did a lot. Soap making was another thing that was on our list to learn for 2024. And we took a Homestead class, which was fun.
Yeah, that was fun. It was, our local co-op class that's offered, and you have people that know the skill and have learned it and teach us the basics. So we spend a couple hours learning how to do it. Just made our first round of goat milk soap this week.
Yeah.
So pretty awesome.
I can't remember the last time we bought bath soap.
Yeah. That's right.
So it's been fun to have our own soap that we have, and that's kind of cool.
And you actually see what goes into what you're using. So pretty cool.
So that's a skill that we've learned and practiced a bit. The other one that I fell in love with was sourdough.
I fell in love with it too because I get to eat it.
So the shocking part is the amount of bread that we're consuming now is insane.
Yeah, but it's
But yeah,
fresh,
he's losing weight.
Fresh bread.
Yeah,
right?
he's losing weight. We don't feel bloated after eating bread, which is a big problem that I was having with processed bread from the store. And it's just crazy that, three ingredients.
Yeah.
That's all you're using. There's nothing else added unless you're doing honey wheat and you can add some honey. Or if you're, adding some inclusions like jalapeno or cheese or cinnamon raisins or things like that. But there's nothing else that you're adding to the bread to preserve it. And I just feel like...
Because it's not lasting that long anyway. So, but you can freeze it. And if it sits out too long, what's cool is you can wet it and put it back in the oven and it becomes nice and soft again. So it's...
Yeah, after it's baked.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah,
and,
so it's good.
Yeah, and even with the discard, we're making other recipes. So there's not really waste to it. So you can cook with the discard and pancakes, cookies, brownies, discard brownies.
Waffles, discard brownies, absolutely my favorite. Definitely my favorite. But also we enjoy doing the focaccia with it, which I make more of a pizza with it. But it's just, that probably has been most fun because it's a creative outlet too. Because I don't really do a lot of creative things, really.
Yeah. And I'm not good at the creative bread scoring and all that stuff because I
But
think
you're good at the eating.
Overthink it, yeah. Eating, I can eat creatively.
Yeah.
Like toasting it and putting a little chocolate chips on it.
Oh yeah,
Some
chocolate
peanut
chips
butter.
on it is so yummy. But yeah, so that was a really fun skill that we learned that started off a little bit rough with getting a starter going, but it's been taking off and it's been a lot of fun. So let's talk a little bit about what's in the horizon, because I think one of the things that I enjoy about setting goals for the following year, and I normally write down all of my goals and everything that we want to do, is that as you go through the year, it's so easy to get distracted by what everyone else is doing. And it's a good opportunity to just stop, look at the goals, and see, what do I want to be doing? So that's something that I've always done because I feel like it level sets me, and it also lets me know that it's me making me better, not me trying to outcompete everyone else, right? So, the big thing we have is obviously inside the home. We believe very strongly that a big part of Homestead is the home part. And so that's why we try to do things in the home to raise the value of the home. Because we don't know that we're going to be here for forever, right? Like we could just as easily decide to sell in a couple of years or a month or not. But we love it here right now. We're not selling for real.
If you know of a
But
place
you never
that
know.
has some land
20
on it,
acres. That is not completely
not
an
crazy
incline.
expensive.
That is not an incline.
Yeah, not an incline.
Yeah. So inside the home, a big one is going to be our kitchen backsplash. And we are looking at some samples to try to decide that. But we had our kitchen finished in 2023. And this has been a project that's been staring at us in the face. And honestly, I was kitchened out and didn't want anything to do with the kitchen. So now I feel like it's time.
Yeah, now that we're spending more time in the kitchen,
Yeah.
and I think it'll help cleaning
Yes.
because it'll be a lot easier to clean.
So, and there's stuff that I want to organize in the kitchen to make it prettier. So the kitchen backsplash is going to be a big one, and I don't know when we're going to get to it. Inside the house, the powder bath needs a facelift, among other things.
And I think we can do that because we did that back in the suburbs before we moved. We actually redid the powder bath pretty nice and pretty quickly.
Yeah.
For not that much, so.
Yeah, but on this one, like there's some things that we have
some work
to do, so it'll take a little bit of work, but I feel like that's a project that we can take on happily. And again, it adds value to the house. The other two things are going along those lines is our laundry room needs a little bit of TLC. It's something that we've been wanting to do since we designed it, but there's other things that we have to do first. So we refuse to do any of it until the door is replaced, the back door is replaced. So once that is done, then hopefully we'll tackle some of the projects there. And our master bedroom, which we have a master bedroom downstairs and a master suite, but Nick's dad is the one who uses that. We use a room upstairs, which needs a closet. So it doesn't have a closet in there, and it's very awkward when we have guests and we have to use
The other
the
closet,
guest
yeah. So you
closet.
either got to build a closet and walls, or
I have a
some kind
thought. hack. Yeah.
Hack,
So I
yeah.
have an idea
something.
for that, and I've been pinning things for it, but I'm excited about it because, again, it'll just improve the value of the home, and that's something that we always try to keep in mind, both for ourselves, but also if we ever need it to sell.
So that moves us outside because we know that it's going to rain a lot. So then we'll have those indoor projects to do. But outside, one of the big things that we are planning, that we're looking into, is expanding the goat area, putting up a permanent, larger goat house, barn area. So probably our goal is looking next to the chicken coop. So we're looking at trying to match that. If we have to build something, leveling it, that way the girls will have a bigger area, and possibly we can put the boys in next to it, and so they're not so much in a swampy area, but providing enough coverage again for the rain and for the sun, having ample areas for hay storage, putting the milking stanchion over there, so really consolidating that area, making it bigger so the girls aren't fighting to get out of the rain. So that's huge. Along with the geese. So the geese they sort of took over the goat area. So when we got Brandy and Rosa, we expanded the goat area, fenced in, put up a little structure type shed that has now been destroyed by the geese and the chickens when they get in there. So we need to create some type of shed for the geese. And so moving them to a different place, closer to a water source, so we can build them a little pool. We have a kiddie pool for them, but we're gonna have to move that because they're
So gross.
gross.
It's not as bad as ducks we hear, but they definitely are in need of their own area where it can be easier to manage the water situation.
Yeah, so we think we have a spot for it, but we will see. And they like being outside. So, we'll see. Do I want them closer to the house? I don't know. Getting them off the porch, that would be a major blessing. What else we got? Well, the irrigation and the frost-free hydrants are still on the list, so that is going to be hopefully something we can do. Again, that all involves finding out where the water line starts, where it connects, and shutting it off. But having those frost-free hydrants will be good, especially when we do have those freezes, to have accessible water next to the animals, and then being able to irrigate and the peach trees and the few apple trees we have remaining.
So that's a little sampling of what we have planned for next year.
And some of the awesome things that we were able to accomplish this year.
Thank you so much for watching.
And remember, you are awesome and you are loved. Happy New Year!
Happy New Year!